Welcome to Fowl Play, the sequel to the Nut Heist. In the Nut Heist, the adventure focused on the forces of the Kingdom of Acorna. In this installment, the adventure revolves around the Black Eastern Chipmunk Squad, known as the Becks, the Delta Force of the Chipmunk Kingdom of Doosan, and their newest member, Elgar. Sit back and enjoy the adventure, for who knows what will happen in the woods when foul play is involved. Fowl Play by Trisha M. Wilson, Episode 6. Free at last from their chaperone, even if it was just for a few minutes, Rise, Nesta, and Adern went toward the picnic tables and looked for somewhere to sit. "There's a table over there that's empty," Nesta said, craning her neck to get a better look at the area. "No, let's sit by those kids. They look nice," Rise said, looking at a table of 3 squirrel children. Walking up to the table, Rise said, "Can we sit with you?" One of the boys looked at his companions and said, "Sure." As they sat down at the table, Rise said, "I'm Rise, and these are my sisters Nesta and Adern." "I'm Arnie, and this is my best friend Ebbe, and my sister Vanda," Arnie said, introducing the other 2 kids at the table. Vanda looked at the 3 newcomers and said, "You're new here, aren't you?" "Yes, we just got to town yesterday," Nesta said. "Are you one of those people in the peace delegation?" Ebba asked. "We aren't, but our father is," Rise said proudly. "He's the leader of the Blevins United Confederation." "Wow," Vanda said. "That's a long title." "Are you like royalty at home?" Arnie asked, looking at them with excitement. "Don't I wish," Rise responded with a huff. "Then I wouldn't have to go to school or do my chores or even clean my room." "Are you here alone?" Nesta asked. "Sure are," Arnie said proudly. "My parents told me I was big enough to come to the festival all by myself as long as I watched my sister." "Wow," Adern said. "We had to come with Mr. Tancred." "Who's Mr. Tancred?" Vanda asked. "Is he like a servant?" "No, he's our chaperone. I think he's like the king's advisor or something like that," Nesta said, not sounding all that impressed with Tancred's job in the palace. "Why aren't your parents with you?" Vanda asked. "We couldn't find our mom, and our dad is in talks with your king and queen," Rise said, sounding bored with this line of talk. Before another word could be said, they heard a voice behind him. "There you are. I looked all over the place for you." Everyone looked up and saw Tancred laden down with food for Rise, Nesta, and Adern. Putting the food on the table in front of them, he said, "It looks like you found some new friends. Mind introducing them?" "Mr. Tancred, this is Arnie, Ebba, and Vanda. Guys, this is Mr. Tancred, our chaperone," Nesta said before digging into her seed cake. "I am pleased to meet you," Tancred said, sitting down in the last available seat at the table. "Are you having fun at the festival?" "It's been okay, but it would be more fun if you 3 came with us," Ebbe said. "Oh, do!" Vanda encouraged when Tancred looked like he was going to disagree. "I'm stuck with these 2 all day, and I'd love to have some girls to go on the rides with." "Can we?" Nesta asked, as keen on the idea as the 3 squirrels in front of her. Tancred looked at all 6 faces and said, "I guess we can, but I have to stay with you the whole time, and no trying to ditch me." "Of course not," Arnie said. "Never would have thought about it. You just about done eating?" "Yes," Rise said, getting to his feet. "Let's go." Everyone followed his lead, and after throwing away their trash, they started toward one of the nearby rides. "You have to go on to the Squirrel Curl. It will have you screaming. It lifts you up, and then—" Arnie was saying before he bumped into a couple of chipmunks. "I'm so sorry," the woman chipmunk said. "No problem," Arnie said, and walked onward toward his destination, with the rest of his group following him closely. Perun and Jasna watched the 6 children and 1 adult walk away from them. "You saw them, didn't you?" Jasna asked, watching them from the corner of her eyes.
"Yes, those 3 birds must be the children of one of the delegates." "Did we know they were bringing their young?" Perun asked.
"No, but then our intelligence doesn't always know everything that is going on. Did you happen to see who their chaperone was?" she asked, guiding Perun away from the group and toward a quiet corner of the festival grounds.
"No, I was more focused on the kids. Why? Was it someone important?"
Perun asked, fighting the urge to look behind him to get another look at the adult. "Yes, of course it was someone important. Do you really think the royal family would let just anyone take the children of a Blevins delegate out of the palace? That was Tancred, King Ulrich's closest counsel and confidant. He's as close to the royal family as Admiral Roswitha is. He knows everything that goes on in the palace," Jasna said.
"That pipsqueak of a squirrel has all that power?"
Perun asked. "It's the pipsqueaks of the world that rule the forest, Perun. You must stop looking at physical strength as the only thing that is important in a person," Jasna said in a disappointed voice. "But on to another subject. Our meeting with our contact is in a few minutes, and he requested that I alone meet with him. Something about the fewer people that know who he is, the better for him. I want you to go back to the festival and keep track of those children. Don't get caught watching, or you'll be tossed out of the festival for sure, if not thrown into jail. I'll find you when I'm done talking with him. Understand?"
"Watch, kids. Don't get caught. Yes, I can do that."
Perun turned and walked back into the fun of the festival. Staring after him, Jasna sighed at his attitude. Perun might not have been the best one to take on this job, but he was the best bodyguard the Becks had. Turning her thoughts away from him, she began to move toward the meeting place. She had only met the contact once, but Jasna knew that she didn't like to be kept waiting. Walking faster, she made it to the spot. Stopping to take a deep breath, a voice behind her said, "You were almost late." "I know. I'm sorry," Jasna said, not turning toward the voice. This had always been part of the arrangement. No looking at each other, no names, and no identifying information. "What do you have?" "On what?" the woman asked. "The weather? The festival? What exactly are you looking for?" "The birds. I've always been partial on information about the birds, especially those who want to talk about peace," Jasna said. This roundabout way of talking was also part of the game these two played. It helped make their conversations appear at least semi-normal. "Birds," the woman said in an amusing voice, "are such interesting creatures. Did you know that some of them came to town just yesterday? They got here late because of a snowstorm, and that made certain purple people highly anxious. But they arrived in one piece. They also came with babies. Such a surprise when nobody had said anything about children." Yes, I've heard all that. But what about the conference?" Jasna said, not as patient as she should have been. "Tut, tut," the woman said. "If you are too impatient to listen to my words, perhaps I should take myself elsewhere." "No," Jasna said quickly. "I am sorry." "You were talking about the baby birds?" she said, trying to get the conversation back on the right path. "Yes, the baby birds. You might have seen 3 of them, but there is one more that is at her mother's side even at this second. Very ambitious, that 4th baby bird is, just like her mother, who is second in command. Very stingy about terms. She wants the best provisions for her people, and doesn't care who she flies over to get them. So unlike her boss, who bends over backwards to make friends with squirrels." "So all goes well?" Jasna asked. "It does, and will most likely continue as long as there are no more map problems." "Who could that white squirrel be that lives south of here? Nobody at the conference knows, but you might." "You're correct. I just might know who that squirrel is. Do you know where the other adults have disappeared to? Jasna asked, not thinking about what might happen if word got out about Lord Zenith. Perhaps they wanted some peace and quiet from their noisy children. The last I heard about them, they were flying over the land and watching the festival events from afar. Hearing the finality in the woman's voice, Jasna concluded by asking one more question. Have you any more to say? Not at this time, but watching the baby birds will be quite interesting, especially when they've made friends with those unlike themselves. Their friendships might just create a lasting peace and make both people stronger than before. Thank you for your knowledge. Your gift shall be where we arrange it, Jasna said before walking off toward the festival. The woman's gift was well worth the information she had imparted, Jasna thought as she dodged children who were running all over the place. They knew about her lord. How? She wasn't sure, but just the mere fact that the royals knew that there was a white squirrel someplace to the south of their kingdom might put them all at risk for exposure. Her lord would have to be more careful in the future. Finally, spying Perun in the crowd, she walked straight to him, already knowing what she would and would not tell him. Perun, honey, I was looking all over for you, Jasna said as she came up beside him. Did you miss me?
Of course. How did your little talk go? He asked, guiding her out of the crowd a little.
It was very interesting. But right now I am in desperate need to send a postcard to our father, Jasna said, seeing a stack of postcards on a vendor's table. Both of them knew that their father was in reality General Branimir, their commanding officer. But you couldn't say things like that out in the open. Quickly buying the postcard, Jasna jotted down a quick note and asked the nearby vendor, Where's the nearest post office? There's a mailbox at the entrance to the festival grounds, the squirrel responded. Why don't we find a quiet place to sit down, and I'll tell you all about what I learned from my friend, Jasna suggested, slipping the postcard in her purse. Perun looked like he wanted to ask about the card, but upon seeing the look in Jasna's eyes, he let it go and said,
Sure. I think there's a quiet area a little ways up where we won't be disturbed.
That will be perfect, Jasna said, walking toward the area Perun had indicated. Once they were both settled on a bench, looking out into the crowd from a safe distance, Perun said, Did your friend tell you anything interesting? Yes. The Blevins' late arrival at the conference worried the royals, but the real news of the day was the fact that the delegates brought their children, Jasna said.
Those are the ones you had me following, Perun said. They've made friends with some squirrel children, and everywhere they went they were followed by that chaperone. He kept a watchful eye over their every move, never letting them out of his sight for a second. If anyone wanted to talk to the children alone, it would be impossible with him around.
Remember, Perun, it is not our job to talk to children. We are to watch what is going on and report any relevant information. I did learn, however, that there is a fourth child that came with the adults. Her mother is the second in charge, and her daughter is very interested in the negotiations, Jasna said.
4 adults, 4 children. We know where 6 of them are. Where are the others?
That he wasn't so specific on. I feel as if their disappearance from the palace was a surprise to everyone. We will have to be on the lookout for them in our various wanderings, Jasna said.
Did your friend tell you anything else? Perun asked.
Jasna thought about the reference to Lord Zenith and decided that Perun did not need to know about that little piece of information. Turning her head back to look at the festival, she answered him, No, that's all he knew. I want to mail this note, and then we might as well leave the festival. Nothing else is going to happen today. Getting to their feet as one, they turned toward the exit, both deep in their own thoughts. Foul Play was written by Trisha M. Wilson and read by R.L. Ferguson. For comments or compliments, just head over to Colbyjack.net and look for our contact page. Fowl Play is released under Creative Commons non-commercial no derivatives license. Share it with whoever you want, just don't sell it or change it. Have a nice day. Fowl Play is now available in ebook format from Amazon.com, Barnes & Noble, and Smashwords. While you're there, check out our other titles such as The Nut Heist, the prequel to Fowl Play, or Nightmare, a tale of obsession and murder. Links to all her wonderful titles are available at our homepage at Colbyjack.net.